right, members of the House of Representatives there, expressing or sharing their thoughts as regards the state of the economy and the planned protest over the hardship that is ongoing that Nigerians are feeling. I have a public affairs analyst all the way from Yola in Adamawa State, Martin Yanasam Dixon, to make sense out of all that has happened in the past 24 hours, that the minimum wage of 70,000 naira and other economic matters. Thanks for joining me, Martin.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, after much ado, as it were, the federal government and the labor unions agreed to a minimum wage of 70,000 naira. First off, did you see that coming after all of the hues and cry and after all the strike that we had and all the negotiations back and forth? How do you think about, what's your reason? What are your thoughts concerning all of that?
Well, to start with, it came actually as a surprise that Labour is able to settle for that amount, looking at the way it started and then the demands that Labour had put forward. If you look at the difference and the gap, you started a negotiation from 650,000 naira, and then he ended up with 70,000. And at the time when Labour was pegging it at 250,000 naira, I was actually thinking that the minimum Labour plan to ground was going to be about 100 and 120,000 naira. But then surprisingly, Labour had been able to drastically shift grounds and settle for us, let me use the word in quote, low as 70,000. And then one other reason that Labour was given is that according to the NLC chairman, Ajero, is that there are promissory notes, promissory statements that was made by the president, and that was why they agreed for 70,000 naira monthly. But I think this is not where the real issue is. Where the real issue lies, it is in the economy itself. It is in the projection and then the progressive mindset to be able to arrest the downward move of the downward steep low of the economy, and then to see how to be able to mitigate inflation. These are issues, because if these issues are not really addressed, even if we settle for 500,000 naira monthly as minimum wage, it's not going to solve the issue. People are still going to face serious hardships and very, very drastic situations that cannot be contended with, just like we're facing now. So the real issues have not been addressed. And I've not heard Labour in recent times talking about how to address this economic downturn. And this is where the whole nation needs to focus on and see how we can provide solutions.
Okay, so in your opinion, the first thing, the cat should be put, or the horse should be put before the cat, as it is, because if you look at it right now, inflation is a very, very big issue right now, which is over 30%. Yeah. But let's even still go back to the minimum wage and talk about, what the other issues are. For instance, state governments over time have talked about how they might not be able, some states have said that they might not be able to meet, that minimum wage. Organized private sector also shared its own, concern over time. Do you really see that as workable? Because even at the 30,000 minimum wage, some states were still owing salaries.
Now, there are quite an array of issues that is getting us to this kind of situation. And that is why I said in the first time, and I keep emphasizing this, as long as we don't address the real issues, we keep going around the cycle every now and then. You see, the situation with the state governments is that as much as Nigeria operates a mono economy, the state governments also keyed into that kind of trend to also rely on that mono economy for everything that the state government gets. No state government variably, probably except maybe Lagos, Kano and a few other states, that have been able to be innovative in creating a means where they can generate revenue and then see that they are sustainable. If you look at agriculture, for instance, it is one viable sector that a lot of states in Nigeria will be able to key into and have an internally generated revenue that can sustain those states. But you find out that the state governors just relax and lay back because as far as they're concerned, the handout is going to come from the federal government at the end of the month when you share the proceeds from the sale of oil. And it has dampened and caused the innovative and the creative mind of those state governments, Nigerians at those state level to be dampened. And no creativity, no innovation. There is nothing that is put in place to be able to generate revenue. And as long as this keeps happening, the state governments will keep telling you that they cannot pay the salaries. This is in addition to the kind of massive corruption that happens at the subnationals. You find out that in most states, the kind of projects that have been executed are projects that are going to get money back in the pocket of the governors. So to say, allegedly, but then there are signs that these are what is happening. These are the things that are happening. You find out that sometimes people-oriented projects that affect directly the life of the people are not being carried out in massive quantum, just like in construction of flyovers and roads. Sometimes we begin to ask the questions, is this the only thing that state governors are elected to do, to construct flyovers and build roads? You see, so these are the issues. Then when you look at the organized private sector, what is affecting the private sector? It is the economy. There is no conducive environment to be able to have a sustainable business that will generate income for you over time that you can rely on for growth, and then be able to take care of your staff and pay people who are experts, pay people who have knowledge and experience in those fields. So for as long as those companies do not have those conducive environments, they will keep telling you that they cannot because they have made profit. You look at electricity charge hiking. Is it the diesel that is expensive and is not available at all times? So how does production become sustainable in an economy like this? And how do companies and investors come and make profit? So these are issues that need to be addressed. Until we're able to look at these things critically and proffer solutions, we'll begin to go around the same circle. Look at petroleum products, for instance. Someone was making a joke just a few days ago that we're in a country where at the time we're exporting crude and then importing petroleum products. But now we got ourselves to a position where a private refinery has been constructed, and that private refinery is importing crude. And at this time, in variance to the petroleum products that we're importing, that we're exporting. So these are issues that we have to critically look at. As long as the price of fuel is high, the electricity tariff is high, there are no incentives for business to thrive, then our economy will continue to remain on the ground, and people will continue not to get to be paid what they should put in. And these are the reasons why people look outside the country. It's better to just move out and see where things are working. And then these are issues that are able to be able to put their energy and to be able to see, because as long as they will keep demanding for higher wages.
True.
The prices of food are going high. The basic necessities of life are not affordable. So after 3 years, Labour will come back and tell you that they needed another 500,000 naira as minimum wage.
I was going to address that. Martin. Yeah, sorry, I just had to butt in here because you talked about more demand over time. One of the fallout of the meeting of yesterday is that there was an agreement that the federal government will be reviewing this minimum wage every 3 years. What do you really think about that? Would it really address these issues of high inflation over time? Because if you agree with me, in our laws, this minimum wage is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years, but over time it has not been done, and if inflation has skyrocketed over time within that 5 years. So do you think if there were like a regular review of this minimum wage or issues generally concerning labor and all of that, it will actually help in stemming this tide?
No, it will help in just one area, and the area it will help is that Labour will not go on strike, because if the review successfully takes place silently, then you find a situation where we might have been able to solve one problem. That means shutting down the economy by the National Labour Congress. This is one thing that it is going to achieve. But then, until we're able to have this review in every 3 years, running concurrently with drastic measures in addressing the economy, then we'll be able to have some form of stability. But as long as we just focus on, okay, let it be reviewed every 3 years, then you find out that at the end of the day, what you're able to do is the government will just keep focusing on how to appease the NLC. And then we are not addressing the real issues, because after every 2 years, the third year, you begin to think of how do we appease labor. So let's just do a review and then see how they will not be able to go on strike. These are issues. But then one thing that worried me about the reports that came in yesterday was the statements by the president of the NLC that says the president says he can give 250 if you will increase the pump price of petrol. This is very, very disturbing. These are things that we have to look at. Must we always look at increasing the pump price of petrol to achieve stability in the economy, or to be able to make government functions run smoothly? How much have what effort have we been able to make to ensure that these petroleum products are available, that our refineries are working? Even the private refinery that we have now is not producing and injecting the quantity of fuel in the society so that the prices can crash. We all know that demand and supply is the basic foundation of economics. So as long as we are not being able to push supply, to be able to curtail demand and then stabilize the prices, these are things that we'll keep talking about every day.
All right.
Why will the president say that if labor is going to receive 250,000 naira as minimum wage, then the pump price of petroleum have to be increased? Are there no other strategies and ways that we could follow to ensure that the pump price of petroleum is not increased?
Because at the end of the day, when it's increased, it actually affects, it's a rippling effect, and it affects every other sector of the economy. But I want us to...
We'll be having inflation go up to probably 50-60%, because now it's at 40 point something.
If that's the true picture. But then another, as we begin to round off now, very quickly, Martin, another issue that was, another report that came in yesterday was the House of Representatives promising to reduce their salaries by 50%, just to, to mitigate against the economic hardship that we've had, and the protest that, nationwide protest that is being planned. What are your thoughts? And shouldn't that be like a general call to for government to just reduce the cost of governance? As we round off, Martin.
General call for government to reduce the cost of governance over 6 months. I like that they promise to reduce that just for 6 months. So what effect is that going to have on the economy? It is not a perpetual reduction in their salaries.
Okay.
So if it is going to be a reduction across board, the members of House of Reps, the senators, and see, you can reduce the salaries even to 20%, but as long as they keep receiving those bogus allowances and those bogus incentives, it is not going to make any meaning. So if there is going to be anything, I expected that they probably could have been talking about enacting a bill that could be assented into law to reduce allowances and cost of governance right from the presidency to the judiciary up to the National Assembly. This is when we will know that, yes, something good or something real is happening. But this is just cosmetic to appease probably those planning the protest out there, that we are doing something, we feel your pain. And then it is only temporary for 6 months. After 6 months, they go back to their normal salaries.
All right, thank you, Martin. We just have to drop the anchor for today. That's as much as we can take. We just hope that all of these issues would really be addressed, specifically addressing the issues that affect the inflation rate and all of that, interest rate and all that. Because at the end of the day, if salaries are being increased by the day and those issues, the macroeconomic levels are not addressed, it would be like just backing up the wrong tree. Thank you so much, Martin, for your thoughts this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I sincerely appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's the size of the show for today. My name is Justin Akadonie. Many thanks for being around. See you again next time. Bye for now.